We now bring in House lawmaker Jinky Luistro for a discussion on the discovery of more dubious names in the list of supposed recipients of Vice President Sara Duterte's confidential funds. Hi, Jinky. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. And of course, to all our followers and viewers.
Right. Katrina here, sitting in for Karen Davila this morning. So, Jinky, over the weekend, the House bared more names, supposedly recipients of the Vice President's confidential funds, the so-called, this time, Team Grocery, with names among them Beverly Pampano, Miko Harina, Ralph Bacon. So far, how many dubious names have you observed from the Vice President's list submitted to the Commission on Audit?
In as far as dubious names is concerned, no, I think we have around 15, but we continue verifying each recipient who received confidential fund. And surprisingly, dumadami, nadadagdagan itong mga dubious names na nadidiscover natin, Katrina.
And Congresswoman, how convinced are you that these names are actually ghost recipients? Or is there any sliver of a possibility that these names may be aliases used by intelligence assets hired by the OVP?
I understand, Katrina, that the subject matter of our investigation in the Blue Ribbon is confidential fund, and the same must be distinguished from an intelligence fund, no? While in intelligence fund, I understand that the military has a practice of not using real names. I am not aware of any rules or law which allow the same in confidential fund. As a matter of fact, to distinguish intelligence from confidential, ito pong intelligence binibigay sa law enforcement, like the military, the AFP, and the PNP, as distinguished from confidential fund, which is given to civilian employees with national security mandate, no? And I don't think that the law, the Joint Circular number 2015-01, has a provision which expressly allows the use of fake identities, or should I say confidential identities, to hide the personalities of the real recipients of the confidential fund, no? We are maintaining the position that the Joint Circular is intended to have a clear accounting, no? A true accounting of the disbursement of public funds, and that includes confidential funds. So we submit that dapat ay well accounted pa rin itong mga utilization ng confidential funds, so we speak.
Right. Congresswoman, Vice President Sara Duterte has been casting doubt on the integrity of these lists that the House has been divulging to the public. She says, as you heard earlier in one of our reports, that some of these may have already been tampered with before it was divulged to the public. How do you actually convince the Vice President and her supporters that there is no truth to allegations that these receipts that are being posted to the public have not been tampered with?
Well, as far as we are part of the committee which investigated the OVP confidential fund and even the DepEd confidential fund, I am morally certain that the documents are genuine. As a matter of fact, these documents came from the Commission on Audit on our issuance of subpoena duces tecum, no? At ito naman pong mga dubious names na to were discovered during the investigation na. Even us, we did not anticipate that we will be discovering all these names, no? It all started with the notice of disallowance na gusto sana naming maklaro, and apparently wala po tayong satisfactory explanation na nakuha both from the OVP and the DepEd. Reason why we pushed through with the investigation. Going back to your question, we are confident that the documents are genuine.
And so far, Congresswoman, we see that a lot of Filipinos were quite upset with the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte. First of all, how confident are you that this negative sentiment among his supporters would not seep into your voter base that might affect your re-election?
Well, first of all, Katrina, no, we live in a democratic country where people are given the freedom to express all their opinions and sentiments, no? We do understand na merong mga supporters ang former president, and as supporters, of course, as loyal supporters, they feel bad, they sympathize with what is happening with the former president, no? But in as far as we are concerned, no, going back to the investigation of the Quadcom, we just stick to the allegations being alleged by the victims of the EJK, and raise questions to the resource persons, and became very objective with our investigation. And in spite of our own investigation, Katrina, no, we have to understand, may sariling investigasyon yung ICC. We are not part of that. As a matter of fact, our evidence is kept with us and did not form part of the evidence of the ICC, no? So I think we just have to appreciate this opportunity para magkaroon ng enlightenment as to what really happened during the former president's war on drugs, about the possible effect of the negative sentiment of the supporters of the former president regarding his arrest. With respect to my re-election, I honestly believe that the people of our district are independent-minded people, no? Sila na may nanonood din ng investigasyon. We just stick to the evidence and to the allegations which are presented during the Quadcom, no? At kung ano man po ang naging resulta ng investigation ng ICC, I hope they understand as well that this is separate and apart from the investigation of the Quadcom.
Right. I asked about how this can affect the popularity of lawmakers running for re-election, because it's not far-fetched to think that there is a possibility that some of the 11 House prosecutors might not win another House seat in the upcoming midterm elections. What are your plans should that eventuality happen?
Ever since, Katrina, I am very hands-on in serving my kababayan here in Batangas 2nd District, no? So I am positive that whatever is happening with the former president is quite alien to the appreciation of the constituents of Batangas District, 2nd District, about who will be chosen to be the representative of our district for the 2025 election. I am positive that we will be judged. We will be judged as to how we serve, how we serve our kababayan in our respective districts, and also by how we performed in Congress. And that is separate and apart from how they feel about the former president. Kasi what is happening with the former president is a consequence of what happened in the past, no? Hindi naman po tayo naging parte ng mga implementation ng war on drugs, no? We just became part of the investigation conducted by Quadcom.
Right, but the Duterte camp has been framing this entire, the arrest as well as the impeachment case against the vice president as political persecution against their family. Has the House so far discussed any options on what to actually do should some of the 11 House prosecutors fail to win their re-election bid?
We have discussed this before, Katrina, no? At ito'y ever since ay dinisclose na natin sa public that if some of the 11 prosecutors will not make it in the election, definitely the option of the House would be to replace those who will not make it in the election, no? Even without the impeachment, with or without the impeachment, the 11 prosecutors really has to face the challenge of re-election this coming 2025 election. I believe na kahit wala namang impeachment, there's always two possible consequences, whether to be re-elected or otherwise. It does not necessarily need to be connected with the impeachment process.
And what needs to be done for the House prosecution panel to ensure that prosecutors, whether they are the original 11 or other new members coming in, would actually be well prepared? Because if there would be some changes, some last-minute changes, then perhaps there would not be sufficient time for these new members to study the merits of the case as what the original 11 had did.
Katrina, the impeachment complaint is based mostly in the result of the investigation of the Blue. And the Blue Ribbon Committee's investigation was publicized. No, I believe that most of the members of the House are aware of the result and the progress and the development of that investigation during the time. No, even the public are aware of that. So I believe that it will not be very challenging on the part of those who will be new members of the prosecution team in the event that some of the 11 prosecutors need to be replaced.
Congresswoman, former Senator Ping Lacson is suggesting that the Commission on Audit should be given additional powers to first initiate its own investigations, and second, to file cases against government agencies or officials that have not been following auditing rules. How necessary is this kind of policy given the scenario or the things that we see on the ground nowadays?
Well, I agree with that. No, I agree to that proposal of the former Senator Ping Lacson na dapat meron the authority to file cases ang Commission on Audit, because as I observe, what they do is only to transmit the result of their investigation to proper agencies like the Ombudsman. No, I think it will be more efficient and it will be more in accord with the public accountability if the Commission on Audit will be given the authority as well to file cases.
There have also been repeated calls to file, or rather to pass measures or laws that would strip the Office of the Vice President and other agencies not directly related with national security, to strip them of their confidential funds. Do you see this motion prospering in the coming Congress, considering, again, the negative sentiment against critics of the Dutertes?
I totally agree that the confidential fund needs to be clarified when it comes to the purpose of the same. No, it's high time already that we make a law about who is entitled to have this confidential fund. Pertaining to the offices who is qualified to be given confidential fund. No, I understand that the purpose of confidential fund is to promote national security. So it is really a question, even during the time of investigation, qualified ba ang DepEd na magkaroon ng confidential fund? Qualified ba yung iba civilian offices na magkaroon ng confidential fund? So we will be welcoming a healthy debate on the matter, no? To finally determine sino ba talagang mga opisina ang dapat magkaroon ng confidential fund. And after thorough deliberation, perhaps we need to legislate to make it as a rule kung sino talaga ang dapat na pagkakalooban ng confidential fund.
To wrap up this interview, Representative Luistro, a lot of people see the midterm elections as a referendum on the performance of the current administration. Do you feel that the former president's arrest will actually be the dividing line that will define whether or not the public, or at least most of it, actually still supports the administration, including the House, and its push to impeach the Vice President?
I understand, yes, it will affect, no? But at the end of the day, the ultimate factor which will be the parameter of the constituents of the citizens in choosing the next public servants, no, be it in local or in national, is how they perform in the past years or in the past terms, no? So while it is true na factor ito to be considered kung anong posisyon ng mga kandidato in terms of the arrest of the former president and in terms of the impeachment process of the vice president, yes, it is a factor, but the primordial factor to be considered, I believe, by the constituents or the people will be your performance in public service in the past years or past terms.
Are you quite confident that the Filipino voting public is already mature enough to think that way? Because to me, that's quite an optimistic statement.
We will see, Katrina, after the 2025 election. I hope they will be matured enough.
And finally, Representative, do you feel that the arrest of the former president has actually overshadowed the vice president's impeachment case?
Oh, not really, no? Talaga lang kailangan ng time for the Filipino people to understand, to absorb, to accept what happened to the former president. But the impeachment of the vice president is another thing na kailangang mapanood, mahusgahan ng Filipino people. After all, this is a political process, no? Impeachment is a political process. Dapat po dito ay kasama ang taong bayan na huhusga sa impeachment complaint ng ating Vice Presidente.
And we will have to wait and see what happens in June. Thank you for making time for us this morning. I know you're very busy during this campaign season. Batangas Representative Jinky Bitrics Luistro.
Thank you.